Hello everyone, that Manga Kid here to give my reread review of Say I Love You. This is by Kanae Hazuki. It is an 18-volume shoujo series put out by Kodansha, and one of my favorites. I watched the anime for this a long time ago, and I read the first bit of it a long time ago, and then I decided to buy it years later, and so I read the last half. I don't know how far I made it when I originally was reading it, but I hadn't read the last half of the series. But I reread the entire series in 2 days, a couple days ago, as of this filming, and really, really loved it. So I've now read it completely twice through, but also the first half I've read 3 times now, as well as watching the anime. This is a really, really cute story. What I like about this is it's cute while also being quite realistic, a little bit dark, and more. There is a bit of sexual themes in this, not explicit, but they are there. And these are high school kids, and high schoolers have sex, and that's a reality. And I enjoy when manga depicts it in a more realistic way, which this does. And so our main character is Mei Tachibana. She has no friends, has never had friends. She's 16 years old, not interested in other people, doesn't trust them. She's been betrayed by people before who claimed to be her friends. When she was a young child, she spent basically 16 years of her life alone. She has a single mother. Her father had passed away a few years prior, and she's just kind of, going through the motions of life, kind of bitter, not interested in anybody else. She ends up kicking our main guy, Yamato, down the stairs at school because she thinks that he was trying to peek up her skirt. Turns out it was his friend that was doing that, but she kicks him in the face, and he is immediately intrigued. He is very popular, most popular guy in school. He kisses every girl, and ends up, right in the first volume, kissing Mei because that's what he does, and she's not happy with him, and he's shocked because he doesn't think it's a big deal, and now all of a sudden this is the first girl who has ever made a big deal out of it, and so he's immediately intrigued by her. And it turns out he's not a bad guy. He's actually a pretty nice guy. And it turns out that Mei actually kind of might want some friends. And she very quickly falls for this guy because he is gorgeous and seems to be interested in her. And so this is one of those stories where the couple quickly starts dating, and then it's a story of their relationship rather than the build-up to them starting to date, which I also really love because it gets right to the point, and then we're in the thick of it, which I enjoy. There's a lot of side characters. It's got a big cast of friends, which I really like, who are all in their own relationships and dealing with their own drama and whatnot. I love shoujo manga that has a cast of friends. The difference between this and a lot of other shoujo is it doesn't sugarcoat things, and it's kind of dark. It deals with depression, it deals with rejection, it deals with weight issues and bullying in a very realistic way. It deals with self-image and self-esteem, and it's really, really, in my opinion, well done. I love the heart of this story because we have a bunch of characters who are at the beginning seemingly not very likable. You meet, or Mei at least meets these people, and she judges them, or we as the reader judge them as like, oh, that girl's just nasty, or oh, she sleeps with too many people, or he is too much of a player, or whatever the case may be, or he's an asshole, whatever. But as you kind of get to know these kids, you learn why they behave that way. And you learn while they're learning that their behavior is problematic and that there's a better way to live life. There is a way to be happy. There is a way to be successful that doesn't necessarily have to be on the path that you thought it would take. The definition of success doesn't always mean you have the most money and you have the most friends and you have the best partner and all these things. We start right at the beginning, basically the beginning of their high school career, and go all the way through until they're adults in the workforce, which is so nice to see the character progression of these young people. There's her female friends, one of them in particular named Aiko, I really love. She doesn't have as much screen time, I guess, as some of the other characters, but she starts off really, really horrible, and you're like, oh god, this person is so unlikable, but she becomes such a loving person. And that's pretty much the same with most of these characters, is you end up falling in love with them, and you're like, yeah, okay, you've done some really terrible things or said some terrible things or whatever, but you can grow up, and you can move on, and you can be a better person tomorrow, apologize for your actions yesterday, and be a better person tomorrow. And, it's really well done. And I don't think enough people talk about this series. I don't see enough people reading it. Now, if you are easily kind of triggered by things like it doesn't really explicitly say eating disorders, but it is pretty well implied. Weight is something that a lot of these characters are dealing with, and as well as some sexual relationships that are just not as healthy, in the sense of some of these characters sleep with a lot of people, and that's not a problem. The problem is the reasons why they're doing it, and the way that it makes them feel. That's where the problem lies. And also the way that the other characters, other people around them, treat them for the fact that they sleep with a lot of people. And yeah, but I love this because you start off with the cute, everyone's dating and we're having fun, whatever, but now we're third years and we're trying to figure out what our career path is going to be. And then now we're graduated and we're trying to either go to college or go into the workforce or whatever, and figure out what this means for me as a person, as an adult. And then it even goes beyond that. So most of it takes place in high school. There's a bit of college, and then there's a bit of after college in this story as well, which is so awesome that it's not just a final extra chapter is 20 years later or whatever like that. This one does follow these characters quite far in their life, and around volume 13, 14, a new character is introduced, or a new couple of characters, younger students are introduced, that I love. I think they add so much to the story, and it's so much fun to watch them interact with the characters that we've come to fall in love with. Sometimes they add the romantic rival or whatever into the story, and you're like, oh. And maybe you would feel that way about some of these characters, but when they did add these characters in kind of midway through, I was like, oh, I love these characters. They're just as lovable as all of the other characters. I don't find them annoying. I think that they're adorable, and I'm rooting for them, even though I know that all the people are already in love with who they're in love with, and these characters never have a chance. But I'm still rooting for you, and I hope that you find love, and you're so cute. Yeah, This was so much fun to reread. I highly recommend it if you've never read it before. It's not just cute and fluffy. The art, I'll do like volume 3. I love the character designs. I think that that's a funny face he's making. The fashion and the, there's also like some modeling and stuff. There's a character that's a model. So there is a bit of a focus on fashion and stuff, which I always am a fan of. But yeah, like body image and all that plays a huge role in this series, and self-esteem for sure plays a huge role. But yeah, the art I really love. The covers themselves, like I love the clothing and stuff. You get a good mix of school versus like personal life, so you get to see a lot of fun outfits. And these characters are gorgeous. Like, they're just nice to look at. The clothing they wear is cool. It's so much fun. And I love, I know we see this trope a lot with the quiet, kind of nerdy, gloomy girl and the hottest guy in school. But this one just feels different. Because she actually is gorgeous. She just doesn't think that she is. And she's actually a lovely person. She just never has given anybody the chance to get to know her properly, to find that out. And Yamato sees that almost immediately and is like, this person is so wonderful. I want this person in my life. And I want her to see what I see. Yeah. And it's nice. Like, we also get to meet Yamato's younger sister and his older brother. And then we get to meet Mei's mother. And I just like the different ages that are happening here, because you get, like, his younger sister is in grade school. They're in high school. His older brother's an adult. And then when they're like third years and you get introduced to the new first years who come in, like, I like the different age levels, and that you can see kind of the maturity level and you can compare how they were at the beginning to how these new characters act now that these guys are a few years older. You can compare how their behavior is, and you can see the growth in our main characters and how they kind of mentor the younger characters. It's just great. I've rambled for a long time now about this, but I've read the series twice now, and I read this the other day in like 2 sittings. I read it in 2 days, 18 volumes, and it's so good. Highly recommend it. If you have read anything else, that is, if you've read this and you've read something that's very similar to it in kind of theme and style and tone, please let me know. I would love any more recommendations similar to Say I Love You, because it is wonderful. Oh, also, before I forget, Kanae Hazuki sounds like the cutest person ever. She has author's notes in the back of every single volume that are like paragraphs long. And please read them. She loves these characters. She loves this series. And she always has something, like every volume. Usually the author's notes annoy me. Not always, but sometimes I'm like, I don't want to read this. She wrote like 10 times what normal authors write in their author's notes, and I was always interested to hear what she had to say. Yeah, it's lovely. Highly recommend. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts.